And breathe. And breathe. What a tense semi-final for Celtic, to say the least. We have won on penalties. We have a hell of a lot to talk about. Usually it's just a 90-minute match reaction. Well, today we've got the whole whack. 120 plus penalties. However, the main thing, Celtic get the job done. Let's try and talk about that. I feel like I've lost my voice for the amount of shouting that I've done. So, pardon me, but welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Like and subscribe, all that nonsense. It's been a wee bit of a wait for this video, I understand. Took me a while to get back and sat down from Hampden to get the video done. But it's time to discuss that win for Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final this afternoon. Aberdeen 3, Celtic 3. Celtic win on penalties. A game full of drama. For the neutral, I'm sure you absolutely loved it. For me, one of the nerviest games I've ever attended, to be quite honest, because I've never been in the full whack before. I've never been at a penalty shootout. First one ever today. Might be a wild fact for you, but genuinely. Apart from the one against Leicester City in some fucking friendly back in 2016, if you're not counting that, first competitive penalty shootout for me. I didn't get to go to the one against Rangers back in 2016. And I can't even remember when the last one was before that. It's very rare that Celtic get to penalty shootouts. I didn't like it. I don't want it again, especially knowing the cup final. I tell you that for nothing. It was bad enough in the semis. I can't imagine what it's like for a final, but we're through. We've won. We should have won. I think that we made life difficult for ourselves this afternoon, but I think in the end, the team that deserved it more made it. And look, listen, I'll give all the credit in the world to Aberdeen this afternoon. They came and they done exactly what I expected them to do. They made it a tough game. They played like it was the game to save their season. They brought a challenge to Celtic. They scored 3 goals. And you can talk about the manner of how we conceded the goals as much as you like, but credit to Aberdeen, they made it a tough game for us today. But I think that in the end, the team that deserved it more won. We were the team that had more of the ball, controlled the game more. Celtic really shot themselves in the foot this afternoon and made their own life difficult in the end when you look at the way that we did concede goals. But we're here to talk all about it. Don't worry, it doesn't end here. This is only the beginning. I'm just relieved that in the end I made it up the road because, wow, the heart was pounding. Wow, what an afternoon. And how do you even start talking about Celtic's performance in that game at Hampden today? It was far from Celtic's best. We weren't really great by any stretch of the imagination. I thought anyway. You might think that we were at points in the game, and I think there was certain segments of the game where Celtic were really good and they showed glimpses of what we've been building towards. But I think in general, they weren't as great overall today as we've been hoping that they would have been this afternoon. I think you look at the first half in particular, we went at half-time 1-1 after going 1-0 down so early. I think there was a lot of questionable performances in that first half. I think you could have made an argument that a few people could have been hooked at half-time with the way that they were playing. We just weren't really gelling that same way. It seemed so tedious the way that we were playing football in the first half. It kind of reminded me, almost brought me back to that period of time in November, December, where the football there was no fluidity involved in what we were doing. It was very rigid to watch, and just, ball goes to Liam Scales. Liam Scales holds it for half an hour, and then Liam Scales passes it straight to Aberdeen. That's what it felt like we were watching. And he wasn't the only culprit. I will talk about Liam Scales as the video goes on, but there was a few players today who just seemed like they were so out of tune with the game. And through that first half, I think that was extremely evident at points. I don't think that we were awful by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not suggesting that Celtic were woeful today, that we didn't have a clue what we were doing, and Brendan Rodgers has to have a serious look at himself. That's not what I'm suggesting, but I just think that there was elements of that Celtic that have let us down on a couple of occasions this season that were creeping into today's performance. I don't know if it was maybe the nerves of the occasion. I don't know if it was just Aberdeen forcing it out of us, but we just seemed that little bit. It's like we took a step back from the confidence that's been flowing through the side in recent weeks. And I think we've seen an awful lot of that in the first half. They got the goal pretty early, pretty scrappy goal to concede. Bojan Miovski gets the goal, once again asking the question to many a Celtic fan, should we have signed him in the winter window? But we fired back, we found the equaliser. Kyogo went through on goal, made a hash of it somehow, and Kuhn came for second helpings and put it in the back of the net. And we kind of started flowing a wee bit more from there. I think that after Aberdeen got their goal, there was really only one team in the first half. We just weren't delivering enough on an efficient or effective level. Things were coming few and far between, and we just struggled to find that rhythm. I'm really glad Kuhn was in the right place at the right time to find that goal, and that's a big thing for us. But in that first half, there wasn't a lot of standout performers. There wasn't at all. For me, the guy who was the standout performer was Kuhn in the first half. I think that he was the one that looked the most lively, looked like he could do something. And he was the only one that really offered an attacking output for me. I think that O'Reilly was poor in the first half. Hatate was quiet. He wasn't bad, but he was quiet. Kyogo, never really seen much of the ball. When he did, I thought he was a bit messy. Yang was Yang. And that was all the attacking players. Kuhn, the only one for me that looked like he was actually going to do something, and bang, he ends up scoring the goal. I think there has to be a serious question asked about what we do with that left-hand side without Dyson Maeda, because is this now time for James Forrest to just take a place in the starting lineup? You could ask that question seriously. We'll come on to Forrest and talk about the second half. Yang is not it, and I don't know if he will. I remember, shout out to my good friend Ryan and his articles, Ryan McGinley. I remember Ryan wrote an article a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago now, saying that he would stick his neck out in the line and say that Yang was going to be big for us. I'll stick mine in the line now and say that he's rotten. I don't know what we're ever going to get from Yang. I struggle to see. I've seen someone on Twitter earlier worded it well, saying that he's rawer than Blue Steak. He is. He's a very raw player, but he's not the solution to the Dyson Maeda absence in my eyes. He's just not it. I think he's really out of his depth playing for a side like Celtic. In these high pressure games especially, I just don't think he's got what it takes. I think you've seen that at Ibrox a couple of weeks ago, and I think that you've seen it at Hampden Park today as well. I just think that these games are maybe a bridge too far for someone like Yang. He really struggled to get into the game. He offered nothing. And we were really missing anything effective down that left-hand side. I think it affected Taylor's performance as well, to be quite honest. I thought that the left-hand side was basically futile. There was no point in using it at all. As I said, everything sort of came through Kuhn on the right-hand side for me in the first half, I thought. So we knew what we had to do. We had to make changes. We had to pick up. In the second half, I think things did get generally a bit better for Celtic. Second half, I think Celtic were much better up until a certain point, which we'll get on to. But that was where we started to see a bit more of the Celtic that we've been used to in recent weeks. Once again, I don't think they were anywhere near their best either, but they certainly were better than they were in the first half, in my opinion. We made changes, which I think effectively changed the game. And the biggest one being James Forrest. Wow, I cannot... Listen, I'm one of the first people to come out here and criticise James Forrest when he needs criticised. I'll be one of the first people to come on here and give him credit when he's due credit. Today, James Forrest was absolutely brilliant. I thought he was great. I think he helped change the game. His goal obviously put us in the lead and put us in a nice, comfortable position when we really needed that goal just to settle some nerves. He was an effective sub, and there was difference. The night and day difference between him and Yang was... anybody will tell you. You know, you don't need to be Cluedo to work it out. The difference was night and day. And he's kind of backing up comments made by Brendan Rodgers that we all laughed at when he said that he's our best winger. Because, and listen, I think that's more of a damning indictment on the state of our quality in the wings than it is just overall praise for James Forrest. But you can make that argument, and you can make a compelling argument that he's the best winger at the club. And I cannot believe I'm uttering those words in the year 2024. And I mean it with all due respect to James Forrest. It's not me taking a dig at him. It's the fact it's 2024, he's getting into his 30s, and we're talking about him being the best winger at the club. That's crazy. Should not be the case. But today, he's out there in the park, pretty much proving that. I think that there was just a general new life around the team in the second half. Matt O'Reilly was much better. He started playing like himself. I think he started taking the kind of lackadaisical touches out of his game and actually looking like he was taking it a bit more seriously in my eyes. I thought that just generally we looked better. Taylor was more effective. Johnston was more effective. As the game went on, we just got more effective. We had that lead. We had a bit of comfort on our side. We were making chances. I just wish that we took more of the chances. Because it came back to slap us in the face, didn't it? Aberdeen got that late equaliser. They hadn't been in the game the whole second half until that last 10 minutes. We had our backs to the wall, and that's the risk you take when you don't finish a game off. We had chances to finish it off. There was a big one with Ida, which I wouldn't even necessarily pin on Ida, just shortly before their goal. And somebody should have shot, they passed it off to Ida. Ida miskicked it, and it led to nothing. It should have been a goal. It should have killed the game off. And Aberdeen had us against the wall for the last 10 minutes, for the majority of the last 10 minutes. And they got the reward for it. They kept pressing, they got it. Up until then, they hadn't had a look in. And I thought that we were playing really well in the second half and deserved more for what we were doing. But you don't take those chances, you're going to find yourself conceding an equaliser and getting yourself sent to extra time. Extra time is just a kind of carbon copy of the second half for me. Total control from Celtic till a certain point. We found our goal. So second half all over again, just in the half an hour phase. That seemed like it had to be the winner for me. That third goal. What a strike from Matt O'Reilly, by the way. You're like, that kills it. That's it. Done. We've won the game. Nope. Up comes 120th minute equaliser from Aberdeen. It wasn't 120th, but it wasn't a kick in the arse off it either. Just off the back of a change which I thought would have helped us in the last few minutes. In hindsight, wasn't the right time to make a sub, was it? And Aberdeen punished us. We conceded carbon copies of those goals, and there's some sus defending going on throughout the team. One of the big criticisms of today, and if you go online, you'll see it, him getting absolutely stinking, is Liam Scales' performance. And I can't sit here and say I disagree, because he's poor. And I think that this fairy tale of Liam Scales being the guy to be the centre half fix is well and truly over. And that will be acknowledged by Rodgers. He'll know that next year Liam Scales will not be a starting centre half at Celtic. He was incredibly poor today. I think that a lot of what he was doing with the ball and without the ball was costly to Celtic at points in the game. And I'm not saying that he's at fault for the two goals. I know that I just stopped talking about the two goals to come on to Liam Scales, but just talking about defending in general, I cannot just kid on that Liam Scales had a great game today or just not talk about it. It was really poor. It just gets frustrating to watch. It's not easy in the eye. The time he takes to pass a ball, the way that he moves out with the ball, the side, it's not going to cut it much longer. He's got a few more games this season, obviously, as the partner to Cameron Carter-Vickers. But he was poor today, and I know he's just back. People go, "Oh, Ryan, he's back from a knock." It was a knock that kept him out for one game. He's not been out for 3 months, for crying out loud. He was out for a game. And this isn't me piling on to Scales like everybody seems to be online right now or anything like that. It's just being honest. And if we want to progress as a club, I think we all know that there has to be a big addition made to the back line, and that's in the position that he's playing. Because he's the weak link. It's as simple as that. Just no urgency in what he does, and it's just so frustrating. He just doesn't seem as comfortable as Vickers. It's night and day. You watch Vickers do something, you watch Scales do something. There's a couple of times today Scales was so lackadaisical on the ball, and a stupid pass or whatever on the ball, dilly-dallying, and bang, Aberdeen are closing in goals. It's crazy. You can't keep that up for future seasons. That's got to change. But the defending in general for the second and third Aberdeen goal were really, really poor. Wow. We should have had the game done, and we didn't. We should have had it done. And then it got to penalties. I never want to experience a penalty shootout ever again. I said it at the start of the video, and I mean it. I love them as a neutral when it's two teams that don't affect your life. Great. Brilliant viewing. Today, oh my god. Gee. Celtic won. I'm not even going to relive it. You know what? Joe Hart, the absolute hero, deliberately missing his penalty so he could save one and be the hero. God, Joe Hart, you were so close to being the villain of the story. You would have went out in a fucking barrage of hatred. No, I'm joking. He wouldn't have. I think we would have all forgiven him come the end of the season, hopefully. But wow, it was he flew close to the sun, all right. He took that gamble. I don't know why didn't he just put his laces through it. Why did he try to be cute inside of the foot? Fucking just put your laces through it. Do what you done that time in the Audi Cup for Man City, for crying out loud. We won in the end. That's the main thing. We've booked our trip to the final. What a roller coaster of emotions. Hugh Keevan saying it's one of the greatest Scottish Cup games he's ever seen. Christ, it wasn't for me. It was not for me. There was points where I just couldn't contain any. I just couldn't take anymore. I was struggling to contain whatever feeling was inside me. I wanted out of that stadium. I wanted gone. Nothing to do with the place. But you know, we've done it. We've managed to do it. we're in the final. We have a chance at a double. We don't know who our opponents will be yet. We'll find out tomorrow, whether it be Hearts, whether it be Rangers. But I'm just so happy that we got the job done. And once again, it's a real testament to the attitude of those players. The momentum switched massively towards Aberdeen's direction in that few final moments of extra time. The heads could have dropped. The spirit could have been gone, and Aberdeen could have easily beat us in penalties. I know penalties are a lot about luck, but I mean, you know, we stuck in. And in a game where a lot of heads would have dropped, and I think other teams would have struggled to contain what Aberdeen were doing, we managed to get the job done, and I'm proud of the lads today. I really am. It wasn't a vintage Celtic performance, but I said that. Listen, in my match preview, I said that this would be a dirty game to watch. Aberdeen were throwing themselves on the ground every opportunity they had. It was a horrible game. It was the game. It was the season-saving game for them. It was going to be everything it could be. And we dealt with it. And that is enough for me. Thank you very much. I'm wrapping up there because I've yapped long enough and my throat is dying and I need a drink of water. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in the channel either tomorrow or Monday, so keep an eye out for the next bit of content. It's back to league action. And hopefully the Celts will go up to lift the Scottish Cup. See you next time.